For over a century, readers have approached Dracula as a masterpiece of Gothic horror, an allegory for Victorian fears of repressed sexuality and foreign invasion. Beneath these Gothic tropes, the text functions as a sophisticated systems analysis of the late Victorian world. Stoker stages a structural war between two highly adaptive, opposing networks: ancient biological infection and modern data transmission. Stoker was uniquely positioned to map this conflict, surrounded by a family of elite physicians involved in fever hospitals and the Royal College of Surgeons. Drawing on this expertise, he designed Dracula as a multi-vector biological pathogen, encoding the era's most terrifying medical theories. Against this pathogen, the novel deploys Mina Harker, an information processing hub who operates as a medieval cyborg. Matting the pathology of the vampire against the cybernetics of the hunter reveals the true mechanism of the novel: the use of modern data architecture to defeat ancient disease. In the 1890s, Victorian epidemiology was in a state of chaotic transition as the medical communities struggled to define how infections moved through a population. Stoker modeled the vampire's powers to align with three competing biological frameworks of his time: miasmatism, contagionism, and germ theory. Miasmatism held that diseases like cholera were products of environmental factors, foul vapors and stagnant water that generated airborne threat vectors. Stoker explicitly links Dracula to this theory by restricting his ability to cross pure, running water. Like the cholera bacteria found in London's water closets, the pathogen relies on stagnation to maintain its influence. The contagionism branch represents the belief in point-to-point transmission, where infection requires physical contact and mandates strict quarantine. This theory explains Dracula's solitary confinement in his castle and his method of transmission, a physical bite that passes the pathogen directly from an infected host to a non-infected one. Simultaneously, the emergence of germ theory, spearheaded by researchers like Robert Koch, suggested that microscopic germs floating in the atmosphere could develop into parasitic life. Dracula travels as a cloud of specks inhaled by his victims, and the subsequent blood exchange mimics the transmission and latent stages of syphilis, the venereal terror of the Victorian era. Dracula operates as an adaptive biological pathogen, modeling the exact medical terrors of the 1890s to exploit every available vector of infection. Countering a multi-vector pathogen requires a supreme intelligence network, a system Mina Harker provides. Mina's character architecture rests on the archetype of the medieval ascetic virgin, an identity built on selflessness, piety, and the status of a spiritual exemplar. Following Dracula's bite, Mina undergoes a physical decline that mirrors the ritual fasting of a nun. She becomes thin and pale, her lips drawn away as she reports she can no longer eat. In the logic of medieval hagiography, this physical wasting is what opens the channel for preternatural insight. Her deterioration grants her visionary powers, specifically the ability to remotely view and hear the sensory input surrounding her enemy. She assumes the operational role of a medieval mystic, providing strategic guidance to the circle of male knights who defend her. This establishes a specific paradox. Mina possesses immense strategic agency while maintaining a posture of hyper-obedient submissiveness to the men she directs. This foundational architecture is spiritual. It provides the raw, intuitive intelligence that the hunters eventually translate into actionable data. The novel's transition to a technological war occurs when Van Helsing weaponizes Mina's medieval visions, forcing them into a framework of modern utility. This hack uses hypnosis to tap the pathogen's telepathic link. Van Helsing bypasses Mina's consciousness, extracting location data directly from her sensory cortex. The novel then recategorizes her miraculous spiritual sights into the language of the machine, labeling them hypnotic reports. Stoker juxtaposes her trances with the hardware of information technology, treating her mind as a transmission device, identical to the telegraphs carrying news across Europe. Her daily operations become equally mechanical. She memorizes complex train schedules with perfect recall, allowing her to calculate intercept routes with the speed of a modern processor. She relies on mechanical data processing over human handwriting to achieve operational efficiency, using the typewriter to produce the standardized intelligence files the group requires. Her capacity for deductive logic, reasoning a particulari ad universale, frames her mind as a man-trained biological data processing automaton. Ultimately, Mina operates as a medieval cyborg, a highly advanced hybrid processor converting supernatural terror into hard, actionable intelligence. The novel's dramatic climax represents the ultimate systemic triumph of the technological cyborg over the biological pathogen. Eradicating Dracula requires both cybernetic tracking and physical medical sterilization, using Mina's data to locate the pathogen's resting places and neutralizing them with the ritual equivalent of disinfectant. In the final moments, Mina's vision functions like a mechanical camera lens. She watches the battlefield from a high vantage point, her eye focusing on two objects at once as she captures the scene for the group. This Argus-eyed viewpoint allows her to synthesize real-time data faster than the pathogen can adapt, leading to its total systemic collapse. Dracula reveals a society terrified of biological vulnerability, yet placing absolute faith in the power of data and technology to sanitize the world.